Okay, I want to call this special meeting of the City Council 2009 Budget Address to order. What I'd like to do is I'd like to welcome Father Thomas Fitzpatrick from St. Joseph's Cathedral, who will give the invocation this afternoon. And please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance immediately following the invocation. So at this time, I'd ask everyone to please rise.
And let us pray. Dear Lord, send your blessings upon these your servants who so generously devote themselves to serving the common good. Help them to persevere in any difficulty. Keep them united in purpose for their noble task, fostering a community committed to the challenges of the future while continuing to mold this great city in peace, unity, and fruitful growth. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good afternoon, and thank you, Father Fitzpatrick. We appreciate you coming down and joining us this afternoon. And thank you all for joining us here today. And welcome to our viewers on Channel 16. I'd like to take a moment to recognize our City Council members, Kenny Anderson Jr., Gerald Benniga, Vernon Brown, Pat Costello, Greg Jameson, Dee Knutson, and Kermit Staggers. Bob Litz was unable to be here today, so we accept that. And I want to thank you very much for the service to our community and for you being here today. The budget that I will present to you today reflects what I consider are our shared priorities. I believe this budget allows us to take a conservative approach to spending with a progressive approach toward maintaining and developing our city. I'd like to start by showing you how strong Sioux Falls is today. For many communities, these are challenging economic times. In Sioux Falls, we're feeling impact from rising gasoline and food costs, but our residents and businesses are still responding positively. By mid-July, our total construction value was $228 million, which is below our record year last year, but still very strong. While our sales tax revenue is still growing, it has not reached the level we had forecast yet. There's still a half year to go, so hopefully we'll continue to head in the right direction. We are fortunate in Sioux Falls to be maintaining positive and responsible growth. We're also excited by major investments being made in our community that will bring hundreds, if not thousands, of new jobs in the years ahead. Through responsible budgeting, we will prepare to meet the needs of our new and current residents for years to come. Last year, we began talking about our budget using an approach called performance measurement. This is a technique used around the country to help local governments make sure they're providing the services citizens need and want in the most cost-effective way possible. We said in 2007 that it could take several years to fully transition into performance management. And I'm pleased to report this year that we are well on our way. I'd like to thank our City Council for their support of performance measurement and for working with our administration to help it move forward. In this year's budget presentation, we're going to highlight specific programs provided by the City of Sioux Falls. This ties back to performance measurement. By looking at programs, we're better able to measure the level of service we provide. In this budget address, we will look at several programs, talk about their goals and outcomes, and point out to you where we've proposed adjusting funding levels for 2009. Where applicable, we'll also point out where we've proposed adding staff and what programs these new personnel would go to support. In order to make sure your city is meeting residents' expectations, you have to determine how citizens evaluate your services. So earlier this year, our city government used a national organization to conduct a scientific survey of our residents. We also are able to compare our citizens' responses to those of citizens in comparable cities. Throughout this budget, we will discuss many of those results, and you'll see how they've helped us put together our 2009 plan. Overall, service administrators reported to us that our results were very strong. 90% of people surveyed said Sioux Falls was a good or excellent place to live. 81% said their personal neighborhood was a good or excellent place to live. These results are both well above average when compared to other cities. Looking at the details of our citizen survey helped guide our budget priorities. These are also in line with the priorities established by the City Council. We will look at several key areas for our 2009 budget, including public safety, streets and basic services, neighborhood preservations and economic development, and quality of life. Within these areas, we will review many city programs to look at how they're meeting our needs or how they may need to be adjusted. We are proposing a total 2009 budget of nearly $412 million. While it may seem like a large number, it contains many different expenses. Here's how the budget breaks down. $118 million is our general operating fund. The general fund is the city's primary operating fund. These funds pay for the day-to-day operating expenses, like salaries and benefits for most employees and utilities and fuel. $46 million is our sales tax capital improvement fund. It is funded through a city's sales tax of 0.92%. The capital improvement program is the city's financial plan for funding land, construction, and infrastructure. This fund pays for projects like road and parks and new equipment like police and fire vehicles. $155 million involves our enterprise and internal funds. These funds operate like a standalone business and are used to provide basic services like water, water reclamation, lights, landfill, and parking. Finally, $93 million goes toward projects like flood control, railroad relocation, and storm drainage. Many of those also involve federal dollars and bond proceeds. I am also presenting to you a general operating budget that is balanced. For 2009, we feel we have the resources necessary to provide and improve services without budgeting for use of our unobligated fund balance. Today's presentation will focus primarily on operating budget or general fund. As we said, this fund is estimated to be $118 million for 2009. Here's where we get that $118 million. More than 40% of it comes from 1 penny of the sales tax, which is the general fund's largest revenue source. Almost 35% comes from property taxes, which is the general fund's second largest revenue source. The remaining comes from things like license, permits, and charges for service. As you can see, in Sioux Falls, we've enjoyed relatively steady growth in our sales tax. Historically, it's around 7%, but because of uncertainty in the national economy, we felt it was best to be conservative in our estimate for 2009. So, we've scaled down our sales tax projections to 6.5%. Our property tax also continues to grow. This slide shows what the growth of our city has contributed in property taxes. It takes about 2 years for new construction to start paying property taxes. So our record growth, the last 2 years, are now starting to pay dividends in the form of added property tax revenues. As city leaders, we share the challenge of determining how best to divide our resources among many city services. When you look at 2009 General Fund, I believe you will see our priorities reflected. Remember, these funds support the day-to-day operating costs of most of our city. 39% of our general fund is proposed to go to public safety. 17% goes to culture and recreation. 17% goes to highways and streets, and the remainder goes to general government, health, planning, transit, and library. Within our general fund, 65% goes to fund personnel. Starting this year, we are forecasting our staffing needs 5 years into the future. This will allow us to identify new position requests impacted by service requirements, growth, and CIP impact. It will also enable management to better forecast budgets utilizing the staffing projections. We will discuss some recommended staffing changes throughout today's budget address, and we'll go into them in detail during council budget hearings. We'll start our review of department programs by looking at public safety, which all of us have identified as a top priority. All of these programs will be discussed further during the budget hearings. When we surveyed public safety, we saw encouraging results. 95% of Sioux Falls residents feel safe in their neighborhoods during the day. 80% feel safe in their neighborhoods at night. 88% feel safe downtown during the day, but only 41% at night. These are all significantly above the norm when we're compared to other cities, with the exception of downtown at night. The results can help guide our efforts going forward. We want to maintain our presence in neighborhoods, but we also want to make sure we focus on areas like downtown after hours. The first program we'll look at is police investigations, which includes our detectives. They are divided into areas like our drug unit, property crime, fraud, and internet crimes. Fortunately, we have seen a decrease in violent crimes like murder, rape, and assaults over the last 2 years, but our total of calls has increased in the last year. One area we want to focus on in 2009 will be our proactive internet policing. In the past year, we have identified and arrested several sexual predators. These individuals were using the internet to make contact with children in our community. Moving forward, we will continue our emphasis on this important work. Another police program is patrol and traffic. In response to our survey, we will concentrate more on patrolling the downtown area and in traffic enforcement through this program. Our street crime unit has already been successful in establishing relationships with businesses and residents that have helped target drugs and gang graffiti. Since April of 2007, this unit has documented 20 different gangs with a total of 165 members. Our goal in 2009 is to build on this unit by encouraging our patrolling officers to establish similar relationships. As you will see, some proposed staffing adjustments will allow us to pursue this goal. A third police program is crime prevention. In our survey, 69% rate the quality of Sioux Falls crime prevention as good or excellent. Our crime prevention is dedicated to helping our residents avoid becoming victims of crimes. This unit manages nearly 100 neighborhood watch groups and 200 crime-free multi-housing unit properties, as well as our retired senior volunteer program. Our senior volunteers take over duties that free up officers for patrolling. Since they started in 2005, their volunteer time has saved the city more than $100,000. A major change in police for 2009 will be in how we plan for new officers. In working with our police leadership, I am confident that our 5-year staffing plan provides a strong solution to keep pace with the needs of a growing city. Our police chief has recommended steady increasing staffing at all hours of the day, every day, 24 hours a day, every year, 7 days a week. To maintain his proposed staffing level will require adding 4.2 officers each year. We are proposing to add 5 officers in 2009, 4 in 2010, and 5 in 2011, and so on. I truly believe this approach will help us responsibly meet the public safety demands of our city. Calls for service and response time have increased with population growth. Increasing staffing levels means more officers patrolling streets without sacrificing community policing and crime prevention projects. This is consistent, well-managed approach to adding staff that projects well into the future. Our fire rescue services rank very highly in our survey. 93% rated them as either good or excellent. 81% said our fire prevention and education was also good or excellent. And we had another strong endorsement of our programs and procedures this year when the Department for Reaccreditation said nationwide fewer than 200 out of 32,000 departments have this distinction. One program through fire is emergency response. This includes any type of fire call along with rescues, emergency medical services, and hazardous responses. In 2007, our total calls showed a 3.8% increase from 2006, in line with the growth of our city. One goal of this program next year involves planning for hazardous events. We have identified 129 locations in Sioux Falls that could be targets for hazardous events. Our goal is to have plans in place for how we would specifically respond at all 109 of those locations in the event of an emergency. Currently, we have plans in place for 103 of the locations and hope to have them all completed by the end of 2008 and entered into our computer system by the spring of 2009. Our fire prevention program involves investigating fires and making sure fire codes are enforced. A major goal of this program is to reduce the overall amount of loss to fire in our community. In 2007, our fire loss was valued at $2.2 million. That's down from $3.3 million in 2006. While these numbers do vary from year to year, we look at how we fared compared to the national average. And in Sioux Falls, we're well below the national average fire loss for a city our size, which is nearly $5 million. A third program in fire is public education. We offer a fire safety curriculum that reaches children every year from kindergarten through 5th grade. When the department went through national accreditation this year, Our evaluators specifically mentioned how rare and exceptional this type of education program is. In addition, we want to educate our entire community on life-saving techniques like CPR. Our EMS training officer met his goal in 2007 of training more than 3,000 people in this important skill. For 2009, the main change for fire rescue will involve adding a new fire station at 10th Street and Chicago Avenue. This station will improve in a developed area on the east side of Sioux Falls our services. This station is scheduled to open in late summer of 2009. While the east side station won't require any new staffing, we are carefully budgeting within our 5-year staffing plan to make sure we have the resources to add new fire personnel as we open stations that keep pace with the growth of our city. It takes 5 firefighters for each of the 3 shifts to staff a new station, which means forecasting the future is imperative in the budget planning process. We're also focused on providing quality emergency response through our partnership with Minnehaha County. Together, the city and Minnehaha County cooperatively formed a standalone separate government agency for Metro Communications. In our survey, 87% of the residents said ambulance and emergency medical services were good or excellent. Metro has consistently received a rating of nearly 100% for compliance with emergency medical dispatch standards. Our goal is to maintain that superior level of service in the future. Our next priority in budgeting involves our streets and other basic services. We'll start by looking at several programs in our street department. Keep in mind that funding for streets comes from 2 sources: the operating budget, which we're discussing now, and our capital improvement program, which we'll look at later. When we surveyed what people thought of streets, we saw we had room for improvement. 42% said street repair services were fair. 33% said they were poor. 25% said they were good or excellent. The survey was taken during the height of our winter freeze and thaw, so that probably had some impact on the results, but we're still accelerating our street repairs to cover more parts of our city. We know that if the right treatment is used on the right street at the right time, we will extend the life of our streets. We used to resurface neighborhood streets every 22 to 25 years. Going forward, we are resurfacing every 15 to 17 years. This will make a noticeable improvement over time. We are also committed to promptly repairing everyday wear and tear on our roads. Our goal is to fill potholes within 24 hours of being reported. Our street department reports we consistently meet this goal. In 2009, we proposed adding 5 positions to help us support the condition of our streets. Because we have allocated more funds to increase road projects, we have added to the workload of designing, managing, and constructing these projects. These positions will support that work. They will also allow us to maintain and improve our street maintenance snow removal services as the city grows. Our residents seem mostly satisfied with their snow removal services. 59% said they were good or excellent, and 27% said they were fair. Going forward, we will maintain our goal of clearing the city within 48 hours of declaring a snow alert. In many cases, we actually beat this goal and finish in 30 hours. No matter what the weather, our citizens expect traffic to flow efficiently. 46% told us traffic signal timing was good or excellent, while 33% it was fair. Even as our city grows, our traffic maintenance staff has not. For 2009, we propose adding one traffic service worker. This person will help us maintain our city's traffic signals, street signs, and other traffic equipment. One of the most basic services we provide is clean, safe water. According to our survey, 96% of residents are satisfied with the quality of their drinking water. We also rated high in Forbes magazine as one of the top 3 cities in the country for clean tap water. To maintain our water infrastructure as our city grows, we propose adding 2 utility system workers in 2009. These workers will help with water main work, hydrant repairs, leak detection, and locating utilities as the city expands in working with South Dakota One Call. Remember, we fund our water services through a separate fund, so water rates will be used to fund these positions. We are also seeing positive results from residents with sewer services. 99% are satisfied with these services. I'd like to thank our City Council for recently approving rate adjustments to this utility and our other utilities. These fees will help us responsibly maintain our basic services and keep pace with the cost of doing business. Landfill is another area with high customer satisfaction. 97% told us they were satisfied with garbage service. I'm also really excited about our partnership with Poet Energy to sell methane gas produced by our landfill. Besides being environmentally responsible, this partnership will help the landfill add revenue and keep the cost of doing business lower to our customers. The more we recycle, the longer our landfill will last. 89% of residents told us they were satisfied with the recycling service, but our results were slightly below the national average. This year, we began offering free electronic recycling every month instead of twice a year. We will also develop a master plan this year to provide a roadmap for the future of recycling in our city and the 5-county area that we serve. It is exciting to see items collected for recycling, then used in the production of new items. This also reduces the solid waste disposal and extends the life of the sanitary landfill. Another priority area we put together in our budget is economic development and neighborhood preservation. These two go hand in hand to create a well-managed community. We need to balance, encourage growth, and support our current residents. In our survey, 80% said the quality of new development in Sioux Falls was good or excellent. This puts us in the top 6% of cities nationally. 61% said our efforts at promoting redevelopment were good or excellent, while another third said fair. One way we address each of these areas is through our building service division. We performed almost 50,000 building inspections in 2007. Fortunately, an additional employee helped us manage that workload. So we are not looking to add resources in that division at this time. Several city departments work together to make sure homes and businesses meet city code, and residents seem to be supported. 86% said code enforcement was at least fair. We're working as a city to better respond to code enforcement violations. As part of measuring performance, we want to simplify our public complaint process, make sure we're responding in a timely fashion, and better coordinate between departments that are involved in complaints. It is absolutely necessary for any growing, vibrant city to focus on preserving and maintaining its older neighborhoods by encouraging and supporting the development of affordable housing. Sioux Falls does this by acquiring and removing blighted properties. We then construct new, affordable homes. We also encourage and help with housing renovations through programs administered by community development. 86% of residents said access to affordable housing was at least fair. That puts us in the top 25% of cities nationally. While many of our programs depend on federal funding, we are hopeful that the city can continue to provide the level of service that has produced these strong results. Public transportation is another important service to the city. 87% of residents said bus service was at least fair, above the national average. Going forward, we have discussed developing routes to serve our growing areas of town. This will better connect our residents to job opportunities in these neighborhoods. At the same time, we need to be aware of our increasing fuel costs, which are especially hard to absorb in our transit division. Parking is another key to economic development. 84% of the survey respondents said the amount of public parking was at least fair, similar to the national average. As we move forward, the city will continue to maintain the existing parking facilities and also work on developing additional parking to meet the growing demand created by private investment and growth in our downtown area. Many of our citizens depend on year-round access to public sidewalks. City ordinance requires property owners to remove snow and ice from the public sidewalk adjacent to their properties within 48 hours after the accumulation. If a complaint concerning a snow or ice accumulation is received, we will leave a notice on the property of the violation and reinspect after 24 hours. If the sidewalk has not been cleared, we hire a contractor to clear the sidewalk and then assess the property owner for these costs. The enforcement of this ordinance keeps the city sidewalks safe and accessible for all our citizens. During the last winter season, we processed a total of 1,371 complaints. Another key service we provide is access to health care for low-income residents. Again, our city seems to support these efforts. 88% said access to affordable quality health care was at least fair. One area of focus for our community health center is dental care. Our dental patients have increased 10% in the last 2 years and have demand for dental care, and demand for dental care continues to persist. One service that continues to lag behind is preventive service, such as visits to dental hygiene. In 2009, we proposed adding one dental hygienist to help this volume of patients. It is also noteworthy to point out this position will actually increase the revenue to our clinic through Medicaid payments. So it will not only pay for itself, but it will generate dollars for our health department. Our health department also sets goals for inspections. As Sioux Falls adds restaurants, hotels, family daycares, and other businesses, the number of places that need to be inspected grows each year. In 6 years, our number of inspections and complaints grew by 50%. This has left us with a need for increased support in this area. So we are proposing adding one technical clerk in 2009. This will also help improve our customer service for residents. A final program in health is mosquito control. We have gone from 11,000 treated sites in 2006 to 11,500 in 2007. Our goal is to treat 100% of all stormwater outlets, drainage ways, catch basins, parks, and citizens-identified mosquito hotspots. A final priority in creating our budget in Sioux Falls is quality of life. While we listed last date, we cannot underestimate its importance. Cities need quality of life features to be competitive. People have choices when it comes to where they want to live. And cities that fail to create features that set them apart are not going to succeed in attracting and retaining residents. Luckily, we appear to be succeeding. According to our survey, 90% said Sioux Falls was a good or excellent place to live. A key reason behind our success is our park system. With more than 70 parks, we offer something for everyone, and people are pleased. 88% said the quality of city parks was good or excellent. 75% said the park's appearance was good or excellent. Our goal is to mow general park areas once a week. Sports complexes require an increased level of turf management due to their heavy usage, and in most cases, they are mowed 2 to 3 times per week. And every park is inspected for litter every day. We believe in 2009 we can meet these goals with a proposed budget for parks and recreation. The growth of our city, our system has driven the need for one new park service worker. In 6 years, we have added 256 developed acres to our system. During that time, our ratio of developed park acres to employees has gone from 66 acres per employee to 72 acres per employee. Our one new employee will focus on our newly developed areas and help maintain our current level of service. Our residents also tell us they want parks to be accessible. 85% said the accessibility of parks is either good or excellent. This is important to remember as we grow. To highlight the significance of accessible parks, I want to share some information from the city of Denver. More than 9 out of 10 residents live within 6 blocks of a park. Despite an already accessible park system, Denver Parks and Recreation plans to tighten that radius down to 4 blocks, or about 1/3 of a mile. In Sioux Falls, we continue to strive to provide a park within a 1/2 mile distance of every resident, a goal that has produced significant resident satisfaction. In addition to parks, the department provides recreation programs. 81% of survey respondents said our recreational programs were good or excellent, and our offerings to the community continue to expand. In the last 5 years, we have added nearly 20,000 people to our community. During that same time, our athletic participation has increased by 30%. One example has been our kickball league, which increased by nearly 30 teams to 142 teams last year alone. In addition, nearly 37,000 people used our park system for special events we coordinated involving things like live music and children programming. And in 2007, we hosted 26 softball, baseball, and soccer tournaments in our parks. We also coordinated 49 special events with other groups like Jazz Fest, the Festival of Cultures, and the national tournaments. And in 2009, we are pleased to be hosting the Midwest Regional Soccer Tournament. It will have a $9 million economic impact on the Sioux Falls community. Neighborhood libraries are also important to our quality of life. 84% of our Sioux Falls Library services are good or excellent according to the survey. But we're always trying to improve. We will be doing a large analysis of how we distribute library materials in 2009. Our goal is to improve customer waiting time. We also want to increase the use of our materials by children and adults by 5% in 2008. One very popular program in our library system is our children's services. To give you an example, we recently had more than 614 people show up for a puppet show at the Cayley Branch Library. We had to do 3 performances to accommodate them all. This also shows why we've identified the need in our planning process for a new West Side branch. Circulation at our Cayley Branch Library has steadily increased at a rate of 10% each year. A significant portion of these customers live west of I-29. In a sampling of library users this March, we found 42% of people who use the Cayley Branch Library live west of the interstate. Because so many people are coming to programs here, we have had to bring staff from other branches for support. And we devote 2 staff members to helping with parking and traffic control before and after our programs. We are at capacity and are struggling to meet demand in a building that has maxed out its space. So we know when we build a new West Side library, our customers will respond positively. The new library is just one project that part of our larger capital improvement program. It's important to remember that our capital improvement program, or CIP, is separate from the general operating fund that we just discussed. Our capital improvement program funds projects like roads, fire stations, parks, and libraries. It also funds upgrades at our water plant, landfill, and sewer system, and it's used to buy new equipment like police cars and fire trucks. While we approve our CIP every year, we try to plan 5 years ahead. When you look at our 5-year plan, priorities become clear. Here are some examples. Over 5 years, 41.6% of the total plan goes to highways and streets. 16.5% goes to water. 15% goes to water reclamation. 9% goes to parks. 1.4% goes to library, and that includes major projects like our main library and West Side branch. Our second penny sales tax fund funds part of our total capital improvement program. To really see a trend in how we fund priorities, you have to look at our CIP over time. The first graph on this chart shows how funds were spent in our 2002 to 2006 plan. As you can see, highways and streets receive 56% of the total budget. That number grows steadily over time, up to 65% by the plan proposed for the next 5 years, starting in 2009. Over the next 5 years, we are proposing to invest more than $50 million in maintaining our roads. This is another program we've stepped up considerably, and soon drivers will really begin noticing the results. This funding will go toward neighborhood road improvements, aging streets in the downtown area, and upgrades to frequently traveled roads like River Boulevard and Southeastern Avenue. We also dedicate a significant portion of street funding to developing new roads. Over 5 years, we're proposing to spend more than $35 million on this priority. New roads are necessary to keep pace with development. They allow residents to access new businesses and job opportunities, and they also relieve traffic pressure in old areas of the city. But building major new roads is expensive, and it's getting more so each year. Right now, it costs $4 million to build everything that's needed in 1 mile of a major arterial street. Because our development shows no signs of weakening, we know we need a better way to fund the roads. We have worked with developers to agree on a cost-sharing package that will meet our future needs. Currently, the city pays 100% of cost to develop major new roads. Under our cost-sharing plan, we would begin paying 60%. But we also step up funding for new roads in general. Currently, we receive many more requests for new roads than we can actually fund. To give more support to this area, we propose leveling off our second penny from 0.92 cents to 1 full cent. This would mean a difference of 8 cents in sales tax for every $100 in purchases. We plan to work with the City Council to continue to explore partnership opportunities this year. We have also budgeted in 2009 and 2010 to finish our Big Sioux River flood control project. As other cities have recently learned, flood control is essential during a natural disaster. We also want to relieve hundreds of homeowners from having to pay flood insurance as soon as we can. In our CIP, we have proposed $32.6 million bond. It is our hope that federal funds will repay $22 million of that, and we will use the remainder to fund the city's portion of the project and reconstruct 41st Street Bridge in 2010. We very much appreciate our work our congressional delegation has done on this project and are encouraged by the early recommendations for federal funding next year. We have also proposed one smaller bond for quality of life projects over the next several years. These include a new West Side Library. As we discussed earlier, the demand on our library system in this part of town is significant. The next project is a junior football complex that would be built on donated land in northwest Sioux Falls. For 10 years, we have turned away teams that want to play junior football because our current site is too small. We also include funds for part of our downtown River Greenway and for the Great Plains Zoo. Our zoo is definitely moving in the right direction. By investing along with private donations, we will keep this facility moving forward. One area of our budget we manage closely is debt. We recommend using debt for large projects that benefit citizens for years into the future. We also constantly are paying down our debt. To give our citizens added reassurance that our debt is being well managed, we recently hired a financial consultant to evaluate it. We heard very positive comments from her and look forward to working with her over the next 3 years. In addition, our consultant praised our results from Moodys Investor Service that gave Sioux Falls a very favorable AA3 rating. In 2009, we see a very healthy projected budget. I think it's interesting to look at why that is and how we're managing our growth. Our solid projections for 2009 are due to many reasons. They include the strong performance of our pension and health funds, our steady increase in property tax revenue, and our continued efforts to control costs as much as we can. There are two main reasons why our budget increases each year. In 2009, 60% of the growth in our budget is from what we call rate. This includes things like inflation, fuel prices, and cost of living. 31% of the growth in our budget is due to the growth in our city. This includes things like the cost of maintaining more miles of roads and serving a growing population. Another reason our budget is healthy is because our workforce is healthy. We are controlling healthcare costs by focusing on wellness programs, and this approach is really starting to pay off. Participation in the annual employee health screening has increased more than 43% in 3 years. In addition, between 2006 and 2007, 15 employees quit smoking. This contributed to an estimated $45,000 savings in healthcare costs and work productivity. We also continue to focus on finding ways to work more efficiently. One example involves how we manage asphalt. In the last 5 years, our asphalt costs have gone up about $10 per ton. We use about 35,000 tons per year. We recently purchased equipment that will allow us to recycle old asphalt to complete permanent street repairs. This results in fewer pothole repairs and more permanent fixes. In addition, our street department is coordinating with our parks department to systematically reclaim and reconstruct rough sections of the bike trail. The final project is a completely new trail section and a much more enjoyable trail experience as the results of this program. A major way our departments are working more efficiently is through fuel conservation. We have identified dozens of ways to save fuel. People, like our inspectors, parking and library staff, are strategizing their routes before they drive. All our vehicles are well maintained for maximum fuel efficiency. Employees are carpooling, biking, or walking, and we're doing our best to limit the time we use heavy equipment that requires a lot of fuel. It is important that citizens understand how our budget works. I know it can seem complicated, so that we want to make ways to better explain it and how the budget is put together. Starting today, you can go to www.siouxfalls.org and click on a new site called Budget Basics. This site will walk you step by step through our budget and show you how we balance all our needs. We will have a similar educational piece running several times a day on CityLink Channel 16. I hope that you agree with this proposed budget and it reflects the priorities we share. I look forward to communicate even more about our programs in the weeks ahead. And I want to thank each one of you, for building an even greater Sioux Falls, and thank you very much for attending this afternoon.